Okay, great. So it's starting. So you're listening. Please make sure you're listening if you haven't got this correct answer. So there's a lot of symbols. There's symbols for both of them. So now I want to make sure my unknowns are at the top. So when I create my sign formulas, I want to put it at the top. Are we familiar with that? It's just easier for you. So when I have my pairs, I'm going to put the distances at the top. So I'm just going to start with this pair first. I'm going to write x plus 3. I'm going to write brackets because they've got brackets to make my life a little bit easier when I'm rearranging equations, and sine 30. I'll write my next pair, which is 2x take 5, and then sine 45. I'm assuming you would have all gotten that one. Can you put your hands up if you were able to produce that? And so the algebra part is the hard part, and I understand. So we're going to do bit by bit. I'm going to remove sine 45 from this side. So I'm going to go times sine 45. So it'll be x plus 3 sine 45 sine 30 equals, only thing left over is 2x take 5. So make sure you're either watching or you're writing as you go. Obviously, if it's still there, so you can write it down after I finish as well. Now, hopefully you can kind of see that there's an x over here and there's still an x over here. So eventually I need to basically expand all the brackets and put x's on one side and numbers on the other side. So I'm going to expand this bracket. I know that it's, not written in the conventional setting where, the number's at the front and you've got your bracket, but you can still do it, doesn't matter. So you just do the first one, so x sine 45. Now, a little tip is make sure you put the x at the front, not like inside the sign or anything like that. Sine 45 always stays as sine 45. It almost has its own bracket, so do not ever change that around. X kind of plops at the in front of it like a times, but I'm not going to write this times because I'm lazy and we like to skip things. And then you just expand the next one, so it's 3 sine 45, and then I've got my sine 30 as a denominator, and I still got 2x take 5, and I'll just write that one without brackets for now so I can remove some stuff. So I still have x on the left-hand side and right-hand side. I'm going to split this fraction into two terms. At the moment, it's one term. How do I split fractions into two terms? Well, I should be able to put them in the same, they've got the same denominator. I just split it up. So numerator, you can just split it up using the same denominator. The reason being is when I say, can you add fraction, you should be able to just put them back together because the denominator is the same. So you just add the numerators together in a big long line. So you should know how to interchange fractions into different terms or put them together and add fractions. So this is what I have so far. I've got this term, which has an x, this term, which has an x, and the other two terms have numbers. So I'm going to put them all on one side, on the x terms, so I can have the numbers on one side and x's on one side again. So maybe I'll just move this one and then these ones so I can have positive answers. So if I move this one, it'll be minus 2x. If I move this one, it's a positive. So I just got to do a minus sine 45 sine 30. Does that make sense? So hopefully you know that you just write that in, balance the equation. So I got minus 2x on this side, and then I got minus 5 already, and then already minus 3 sine 45 sine 30. So I've got numbers. If you actually chuck this in the calculator, that's just a number. I can't chuck this in the calculator because it has an x. Hopefully what you notice, there's two terms, they both have x. When they have something similar, you can factorize it out. For the first term, if I divide it by x, anything that's left over is just going to be the number part. So if I divide that first term by x, this is what I get left over. If I divide the second term, it's a minus 2x divided by x, so I get minus 2. Any questions on that? Just really simple factorizing, but I understand that it looks hard because there's signs and it's a little bit complicated. Again, the second part just stays the same. That's just the number part. Now, all I have to do is get x by itself. So basically, I need to remove this. How do I remove it? It's so simple. It's just a number. If you just chuck that in the calculator, it'll probably give you a decimal. I'm not going to turn it into a decimal because that's not exact answer. There's a times there. So I just basically divide the whole thing to get rid of it. Are you still following? Great. So I'm just literally, you can write it as a divide, or you can do a big bracket and write a divide and write your thing. I'm just going to put it as a big fraction, but some people don't like using, some people are not very good at using fractions on the calculator. So it really depends. So this is it. This is my x value. That's my x. That's just all you have to chuck in your calculator. So if I rewrite this nicely and neat, so just in case you get it wrong in the calculator, so can you all try this on your calculator and let's see what we get. I need you to practice putting this in the calculator because there's different things you can write. If you don't put the fraction signs at the right place, it's going to give you the wrong answer. Hopefully it gives us the right answer. So give it a go. So obviously this one, make sure you put a fraction there, make sure you put a fraction there, make sure you put this fraction in first. So when you put it in your calculator, you press it so it's like this. You start to enter your numerator, you start to enter your denominator after. Make sure you put fractions where it belongs. Don't use the divide sign for fraction because it might confuse your calculator. So chuck your answers in. Hopefully it gives us the same answer. What do we get? As long as I haven't made a mistake, hopefully. I just want to make sure it's right so I can upload the solutions as well. Let me know. So our answer should look something in the form of a square root. So it should have a square root. What was the solution meant to be, Josh? Can you remember?
8 plus 11.
So solution's meant to be 8 plus 11 over 2 square root 2. Is it right?
Yep.
Do we get that answer?
Yep.
We do. Great. So tick. Well done.